Hey everyone, welcome to the first ever Simon Says Let's Review and give you a quick rundown of the series. It's basically I take super famous matches, I watched him for the first time and give my thoughts and my review of the match. I feel like a lot of people wish they could be in my shoes and watch a match for the first time again. So I decided that I'm going to do that. And today I'm going to start off with Stone Cold versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Now, the reason why I chose this match is because Stone Cold is one of my favorites of all time. I'd probably say he's the GOAT, over Flair and The Rock and all them. And then you got Bret Hart, who is one of the best ever as well. And he's more of a technical wrestler, and Stone Cold is more of a character. And what's interesting to me is that this was a submission match. And I've known Stone Cold to be a brawler. So I was super interested how he was going to try to, be a technical wrestler in submission match because he just can't stun him and cover him 1, 2, 3. Now I know the finish of the match before I even see it, and also I know that this was supposedly one of the greatest double turns of all time, if not the greatest double turn of all time. So I'm excited to see Stone Cold's character work because I do believe he was hot at this point, but he wasn't the megastar, which was he a little bit later. There was Stone with Brett, he was in his prime, and then the double turn. I always hear about the double turn. There's people who've tried it, after them, and everyone compares this one, and no one has beat it yet. So those are kind of my thoughts about it. I'm real excited to see how Stone Cold's going to, keep up with Brett technical wise. I've heard one time in a podcast that he was talking about this match and basically said that he only had a couple moves and he didn't really have a submission. So I'm interested to see what submissions he uses because all Stone Cold does is punch you in the face. So yeah, I'm super excited to watch this match, and I'm going to watch the match, and I will come back and I will tell you what I thought. Alright guys, I just got done watching the match, and I was actually pretty impressed with the match. I had an idea of the way the match was going to go. It kind of stayed the course, but there were some surprises that surprises. So even though I knew the finish, I still really enjoyed the match because it's like it doesn't matter how old the match is. If you have two performers like a Stone Cold and a Bret Hart, you're always going to get a great match. I'll kind of get into it. I love that how you know Stone Cold kept brawling with Bret Hart, throughout the crowd and all that. But Bret would give him in the middle of the ring and it would be technical. That was real cool how they combined their styles where it made each guy look really well. And but I'll get in that to a minute. First off, I heard Vince's voice, and that's the first time I listened to Vince call a match. I don't know how long. So it was kind of, I see Vince McMahon, I watched wrestling, last week, and you see him as an authority figure today. But back then, he didn't even want to say he ran, he was the owner of WWF. He just wanted to play as an announcer. So it's kind of cool to see him go from today's world and being the boss to just being an announcer. And I think it's kind of funny how he announced. I can tell that maybe that wasn't his strongest suit, but really enjoyed Vince on the mic. Stone Cold walked out. The glass broke, which was just super iconic. I think this is one of his most iconic entrances because I do believe that this is one of the first time the glass broke. So that was super, super cool to see the glass shatter and then come out. And I could tell the crowd was just really behind him. See, I knew that he was going to turn face at the end, so I was kind of trying to hear like crowd reaction to him when they come out. And Stone Cold just got a huge babyface pop. And then Bret Hart came out, and then I was listening to it, and it just wasn't the same as Stone Cold because I think the fans knew already, like they didn't know, but they felt it in the air that Stone Cold was the babyface and Bret was the heel. They just weren't told. They were told that Bret was the baby and Stone Cold was the heel. But I could just tell in the air and the crowd reaction that the fans are made up their mind. They love Stone Cold. Stone Cold is getting the biggest reaction, but they need a reason to boo Bret Hart. So that kind of get into a little bit later, but that's what I really enjoyed about the match because it gave the fans what they wanted. The fans already knew what they wanted. They just need the match to get there. So they came out, and I'm not going to go over really the match. You've seen the match. I'm the person that's seen the match before. I'll just kind of give my thoughts on it. Like I said, kind of said at the beginning, really enjoyed the brawling between Steve and Brett at the beginning. Steve did his thing, took him out to the crowd. One thing I noticed is the crowd seems really rowdy back then. Maybe there's just the camera angles this time around in today's age, but man, they were all over Steven. Ken Shamrock in his super tight clothes was trying to, I mean, there doesn't look like there's any security, it's just Ken Shamrock trying to keep fans off. So yeah, I really enjoyed how Steve, took his style, because I was wondering how Steve was going to make his style work against Bret Hart's submission match. So they, took out to the crowd, brawled and stuff. But then what was thought was smart is that then Brett got Steve in the middle of the ring and was technical. And what I really enjoyed, wasn't expecting, was Brett was really working on Steve's leg throughout the whole match. Kept doing technical moves on it. And what was real cool that I do believe I heard, like, Bret Hart came up with for that match, was a figure four on the post, and I didn't even know that that's where that happened, and that was the match. So that was real cool to see, Brett do that spot. It was just a really smart match. I can't believe I took this long to watch it, because it's like, honestly, sometimes I feel like these matches can be overhyped because it's Stone Cold and Bret Hart. If that makes sense, some people will just say that's the best, one of the greatest because it's them, but really, it still holds up to this day. I saw the chair shots, man. Stone Cold hit Brett on the head one good time, and also those chair shots, man. They look like they hurt. I remember Brett was on all fours and Stone Cold hit him a chair, and I heard it through my headphones, which was crazy. And also, I'm looking at my notes. Jerry the King Lawler is pretty mean. And the crowd was Bret Hart's daughter. He called her ugly and should cover her face. And I was like, oh, what's up, man? This would not happen. I'd let an announcer call a kid ugly and should cover the face. So, before I get to the main juicy part when it talks about, I really enjoyed how the story came together, where Steve got his stuff in, was brawling, beating Brett up, gave him the double fingers. Brett got technical, working on a leg, what you expect from Bret Hart being technical. And kind of, I could just tell that when, even kind of going back to the beginning, when Brett came in, he just looked like a heel. He looked like he was pissed off at the world, the way he worked. He raked Stone Cold's eye a couple of times. Just, he was super. He was very physical and violent towards Stone Cold, and a babyface doesn't do that. And like I was saying, like, I think the crowd already knew what was going to happen, but they didn't know. And all WWE was smart by giving the match to go for it. So, of course, at the end, Brett puts, they brawl. Stone Cold gets cut. He starts bleeding. Then they get back in the middle of the ring. He works on his leg again. Bret Hart tries to do a heelish move, put his leg in a chair, but Stone Cold gets out of it. Then, before I get to that, I really enjoyed Stone Cold's variation, because I was going in the match going like, what's Stone Cold going to do? Like, how is he going to do submission moves? He did some, figure fours. I really like he did the Boston Crab or the Walls of Jericho. But what was real smart, I thought, was the electrical cord. That makes so much sense. Stone Cold is just a brawler, so he's going to grab anything he can to make him submit. So I thought that was super smart. But yeah, so at the end, Brett puts him in the figure four, and during commentary, I do believe Vince said that no one's ever broke out of the figure four, and looks like Stone Cold is about to break out of it. But Brett locked it back in. Stone Cold passed out, and then of course we saw the iconic shot. And and then at the end, this is kind of what surprised me the most, because in my head, every time before I saw the match, I thought Brett just held it, and Ken Shamrock would just wed the match off. But I thought Bret Hart would just hold it for the longest time, and that would make the double turn. But no, Bret Hart started attacking Stone Cold, which really surprised me. And then he started attacking Ken Shamrock. It was awesome. Ken Shamrock tossed him. I actually really like Ken Shamrock. He's, I say I have a lot of favorites, but just for some reason, he was one of my favorites as whenever I was a kid. But yeah, it was just super smart how like Bret, you know, came off pissed at the world, his work style, and then, he just the way he attacked Austin and attacked the ref, and, I just, and then kind of last thing is, I feel like the only complaint I have about the match is that I feel like the announcers were just gushing over Stone Cold. It's like I get it, he's supposed, we get it. He passed out, and he did his thing. But I feel like they just pushed it too much. Like, maybe because I don't want to say I'm a smarter fan. Maybe since I watched today's wrestling, I get it. And back then they needed to. Now maybe Vince felt like he needed to just really express what Stone Cold went through. But to me, I felt it was a little bit overdone. But besides that, it was a great match. I can tell that, Stone Cold was the baby face, and it was kind of funny at the end. Stone Cold stunned the ref, and it's like Stone Cold was still trying to be a heel, even though he was a straight baby the whole time. So, I thought it was a great match. The only complaint was I thought the announcers Vince kind of really tried to hype up Stone Cold. It's like I get it, but maybe since I'm watching it in 2019, that maybe I just it's different. But yeah, I'm glad I did the series. I'm super excited to do other matches because honestly, when I first started to do this, my first video, I was like, man, I already know the finish. I don't know how good this is. I really enjoyed because I didn't know what to expect. I knew that there was a double turn, but I didn't expect all that stuff. But guys, thanks for listening, and remember, Simon says to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video. Thanks, guys, and have a good one.